All right, so picture this. A universe where every god, like, ever actually exists.
Woo!
We're talking, like, Zeus and Odin comparing beards at the cosmic water cooler.
Okay.
Ra and Vishnu arguing over whose universe is more, like, balanced.
I like it.
And that's what we're diving into today.
Right.
So the author of this universe, they basically create this image where Mount Olympus, right, is casting a shadow on the Nile River. And you've got the Bifrost, that rainbow bridge thing shimmering up against Vishnu's cosmic ocean.
Okay.
But, and this is important, we're not just going to sit here and like list off who these guys are.
Right.
We're going deeper.
Okay, so like what's the point?
We're figuring out how a universe run by, well, beings who are basically defined by being the only game in town. How do they even function?
I see. So it's not just a who's who of mythology. It's like figuring out the rules of the game when everyone's trying to make their own rules.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you've got these incredibly powerful beings, all used to being top dog.
Yeah, talk about a recipe for some cosmic power struggles.
Well, yeah, but it can't be all chaos, right? I mean, there's got to be some semblance of order.
Well, how about that? The author actually creates this place called the Concordium.
The Concordium? What's that?
Imagine like a giant interdimensional meeting hall. But instead of boring beige walls, it's this crazy mashup of architectural styles.
Oh, so like one part Parthenon, one part Valhalla?
Exactly. Maybe throw in a ziggurat or two for good measure.
Okay, I can see it. This crazy, impossible building.
And that's where the gods try to, hash things out, supposedly.
Okay, so they're at least trying to make it work. But let's be real. We're talking about beings who control lightning, time, even death.
Right. So what happens when they disagree? Because let's face it, a bunch of immortal super beings in one room, someone's going to have a different opinion eventually.
Right. And that's where it gets really interesting. In this universe, belief equals power, literally. Every prayer, every offering, it fuels them.
So it's like their battery getting recharged.
Yeah, exactly. And the stronger the belief, the more powerful the god.
Okay, so what if people start slacking on their sacrifices? Zeus is going to be stuck on, like, half god mode.
Well, it's not quite that simple, but you're getting the idea.
All right, go on.
So even a minor disagreement between, say, Zeus and Odin could mean epic storms ravaging the mortal world.
So their moods are like the ultimate weather forecast. No treasure mortals.
Exactly. And it's not just the weather either. The author highlights how even the concept of time is different depending on whose divine influence you're under. Imagine living in a Norse village where Ragnarok, the end of the world, feels imminent every Tuesday.
Hold on, rewind that. Ragnarok every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday.
I can barely plan my grocery shopping for next week.
Okay.
But seriously, how do people even function with that level of, like, cosmic uncertainty?
It raises the question, do they have a choice? The cyclical nature of time for the Egyptians and Hindus, the ever-present threat of Ragnarok for the Norse. These aren't just stories, they're woven into the fabric of reality.
So it's not just that Thor and Zeus are in the same room. Their very presence, their beliefs, are warping reality around them.
Exactly, which makes the whole coexisting peacefully thing even trickier.
Especially when you consider that these gods are used to being the center of their own universe, so to speak. The Egyptians and Hindus finding common ground in their cyclical views of time? That's interesting. But even those alliances get strained.
Because at the end of the day, it's all a power struggle.
Exactly. The author sets up this fundamental tension. Domination versus cooperation. Do these gods carve up the universe into divine timeshares or find a way to genuinely share? And with every decision, there are massive ripple effects on the mortals below.
Which brings us to the cities. I love how the author doesn't just use them as backdrops.
Oh, yeah.
They're practically characters themselves, each one dedicated to certain gods, their architecture reflecting their patron's influence. Imagine a city co-ruled by Thor and Athena.
Talk about a city planning committee meeting.
More than just a clash of aesthetics, though. Imagine the cultural fusion. But you're right to focus on the cities. Remember how we talked about belief fueling power? Well, in this universe, human choices, particularly faith, are incredibly important. Mortals aren't just bystanders, they're active participants in this cosmic drama.
Okay, so mortals are players in this cosmic game. What happens when the stakes get higher? Because from what you're describing, it sounds like things are about to get a whole lot more complicated.
Think of it like this, like a tapestry, right?
Okay.
Woven from the very fabric of reality. And now imagine someone keeps like yanking at the threads, pulling it tighter and tighter.
Okay, I get it. Not exactly a recipe for, cosmic harmony.
No, definitely not. And that's where we're at with these gods. The author describes this slow burn tension that eventually explodes into like full-blown cosmic conflict.
So it's not just debates in the Concordium anymore.
Oh no, we're way past that. We're talking about Zeus's lightning bolts going head to head with like the winds of Yggdrasil, the skies themselves are a battleground.
So much for those peaceful coexistence talks, huh? Makes you wonder, if the gods are having this kind of a meltdown, what hope do we, like, regular folks have?
It's interesting you say that because even with all their power, the author makes it clear that these gods, they're not perfect. They're driven by ego, fear, the same stuff we grapple with, just on a much, much larger scale.
So are you saying that Zeus's temper tantrums are just like a supersized version of me getting hangry?
Well, I wouldn't say exactly like that.
Okay, fair enough. But I see what you mean. But this all sounds pretty dire. Like, what's the end game here?
Well, that's the thing, right? All this divine infighting, all this struggle for dominance, it backfires.
Backfires how? Do they, like, accidentally zap themselves out of existence?
Not quite. The author describes it more like a slow, grinding halt. The universe doesn't explode, it just stops working. Like a machine with too many gears jamming at once.
Okay, that sounds bleak. The ultimate cosmic power outage. But we're still here, obviously, so something must have happened to unjam the machine, right?
That's where it gets really interesting, actually. It's not some last-minute miracle or a random hero swooping in. It's the gods themselves who realize that their little disagreement is about to cost them everything.
So they finally put down the cosmic boxing gloves and decide to, like, actually talk to each other.
Not talk, exactly. More like a universe-sized wake-up call.
Okay, I'm listening.
The author describes this moment, this incredible turning point, where Ra and Vishnu...
Hold on, back up. Ra and Vishnu.
Yeah.
Those two are like the poster children for order and chaos, right?
Exactly. But here's the thing. They realize they need each other. The author describes their combined powers merging not to destroy, but to reset the universe.
Okay, now that's an alliance I did not see coming.
Yeah.
So less about declaring a winner and more about hitting the reset button on the whole universe.
Exactly. It's not about erasing what went wrong, but about understanding that opposing forces can actually be complementary, that you need both to maintain balance.
Okay, I get that. Balance, yin and yang, the whole deal. But practically speaking, how do you even begin to rebuild a universe? Like, do they just snap their godly fingers and it's all fixed? I mean, it can't be that easy, can it? Like hitting reset on your computer.
You're right, it's way more complicated than that. Remember the Concordium, that crazy interdimensional meeting hall?
Yeah, kind of hard to forget a building that's part Parthenon, part Valhalla.
Well, it plays a key role in all of this. It goes from being like a cosmic war room to a wellspring of creation.
Okay, so less about, power grabs and more about group therapy for deities.
Something like that. Because here's the thing. It's not about erasing their differences, it's about actually understanding them. Remember how we were talking about those opposing forces, how they almost destroyed everything? Well, now those forces start working together.
So it's like the universe's biggest team-building exercise.
Basically. You've got Ra and Vishnu's combined energy breathing new life into everything. And the gods themselves, they start to actually embody this new way of being. Like, they're not just talking the talk, they're walking the walk, cosmically speaking.
So new universe, new rules, maybe even new gods.
Well, not new gods exactly, but changed. The author suggests that this whole near-death experience for the universe forces them to confront some hard truths about themselves.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give me an example. What about, like, Zeus? King of the gods, lightning bolts, the whole deal. What does he have to learn?
Turns out, all that ego, all that bluster, it was masking a deep insecurity and almost losing everything. Well, it forces him to confront that, to realize that maybe sharing power isn't so bad.
Wow, so even Zeus has his vulnerable side. Did the other gods have these kinds of realizations too?
It seems like it. The author suggests that Odin, with all his wisdom and knowledge, had to face his fear of Ragnarok. He had to understand that even endings can be beginnings.
Heavy stuff. Any other examples?
Well, there's Ra. So obsessed with order and control, he'd forgotten the importance of chaos and change. Even Kali, the goddess of destruction, had to recognize that there's a balance to everything, even destruction.
So it's like even gods have to go to therapy sometimes. Which honestly is kind of comforting in a weird way. Because if these incredibly powerful beings can mess up this badly and then learn from it and try again.
So maybe we've got a shot too.
Exactly. If, like you said earlier, they were wrestling with the same stuff we deal with, just on a much grander scale.
And that's what makes this story so powerful, right? This universe, as crazy and fantastical as it is, it's a reflection of our own struggles.
It makes you think, doesn't it? If a god can swallow their pride and admit they were wrong, maybe just maybe, we've got a chance down here too.
That's the takeaway right there. Even when things seem impossible, we have more power than we realize to change, to grow, to make things better.
I like that. So for everyone listening, next time you're feeling overwhelmed by the state of the world, remember, if the gods can figure it out, maybe we can too.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe that's the whole point of stories like this, to remind us that even in a universe full of gods, it's the mortals who have the power to really shake things up.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. And for everyone listening, until next time, keep asking questions, stay curious, and remember, even in a universe full of gods, it's the mortals who make things interesting.